everybody. Welcome to Queer Games Heck Yeah for today. I hope you're all well. I hope you're having a great day. I hope your season is going really well, whether it's summer or autumn or one of the other ones. What's there to say? I'm Luke. I'm a game developer. I'm working on a little game called Liberation, but I'm wrapping that up actually. That's going to be out in a few months. It's heading into testing, and I'm turning my eyes onto the next thing, which is really exciting for me. I love queer games. I love indie games. I love indie queer games, which is why we're here. We're playing through a bunch of them. So we started this batch of queer games. Heck yeah, playing through games from this year's queer games bundle. Bear with me. We'll get there. We'll get there. But when the bundle finished, I felt like liberated a bit. I'm like, oh, I don't need to pick a game from that specific bundle. But then the other problem was like, well, where do I get the games from now? Because in previous years I got it from the Quick Games Festival and then Quick Games Bundle, and now I'm a bit like I'm de-anchored and I'm flailing about. Not that you could tell, but I have been. And I was like, I wish there was like a little curated event that just had like 20 little games that were like the chaff was sorted from the wheat, and they were the wheat, not the chaff, that I could just pluck from, and that would like take me to the end of this batch of Queer Games Heck Yeah. And then yesterday, literally, I was like, oh, Pride at Play, which is like a little curated festival that's traveling around Australia at the moment. It's in Sydney, it's about to do Melbourne. It's about 20 games that have been selected for being really great examples of queer games, or really interesting examples of queer games, I suppose. I have a game in it, The Beat, which I made last year. Um, so I guess that's like a disclaimer that I'm in it, but also I'm like, it's a really good event, and I'm kind of like, I haven't played all the games in it, and so I'm like, this is kind of like me doing my homework in a way. Yeah, so Pride to Play. This is it. How cool is this? Um, I've never had a game exhibited anywhere in like 25 years, so it's kind of really been like, don't tell them, but I've been like so chuffed. Uh, so yeah, I thought we'd play some games from Pride to Play. Maybe not all of them, because some of them I've already played, and I don't like to go backwards. I only ever like to go forwards. And I thought today we would play the first one on the list. So about last night. Now, other than it being in Pride to Play, which means that it's a game that's kind of about being like queer themes or something, and also it's probably from Southeast Asia, like Australia, Indonesia, New Zealand, Pacific. Other than that, I know nothing about them. So if you don't like surprise content, look away. But other than that, let's get going. So, about last night, A Vampire Hangover Story by Elissa Black. Content warnings? Well, I'm going to skip those, but I'll give you a little moment to read them because I don't like to be spoiled. But if you don't like that content, then you can look away. All right, let's keep going. Prologue: The party. You flush the toilet and wander over to the wash basin. Fatboy Slim. What year is this? This is going to be 1996 because I have a theory that Fatboy Slim. Everyone goes, "Oh, that's so 1996." When you hear Fatboy Slim, he's an artist. But actually, he was so big in 1996 that 1996 actually sounds like him, not the other way around. Because that album was everywhere, like the whole year. There was like, I don't know, 8 singles off it. To explain to anyone watching this from the future, music used to come on albums where the musician would put like 12 tracks on an album because that's all that could fit on the CD or the cassette tape or the LP. And to promote that whole album, they would release one song off it on a smaller cassette tape, or on the radio, or on a little record, or on a little CD called a single. And depending on how the sales went for that single, they would release another single from the album. And most albums would get one or two singles, but a really popular album would just get single after single released. And I think Fatboy Slim had like 7 or 8, which is a lot of singles. Because there's only 12 tracks, right? Um, what other albums had a lot of singles released? I think Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. I think famously, pretty much every song on that had a single release. And so ends today's history lesson. Fatboy Slims pounds through the thin walls as you wash your hands and stare at yourself in the mirror. To your shock, your lipstick still largely remains intact, despite the number of greasy cheese pizza slices you just wolfed down in an effort to sober up a bit. Amen. You dry your hands on the only towel you can find nearby and reach into your handbag. You're going to have to find out where to buy more of this brand of lipstick. Continuing to borrow them from friends just isn't going to be sustainable. You're reapplying it around the few bits that need it when the door opens and a figure bursts in. You're just about to squeal in surprise and bolt upright. Oh, and you just about squeal in surprise and bolt upright. The figure is a girl in a pink slip dress you think you saw earlier at the party. Oh heck, she says, slurring slightly. I didn't think anyone was in here. I'm sorry. Ask her if she's alright. Tell her it's fine, you're done. Alright. Are you alright, babe? You ask, continuing to apply your lipstick while staring at her in the mirror. She pauses, looking around. Yeah, she says, I'm just. You finish up with your lipstick, replace it in your handbag. I mean, it's your friend's lipstick. And take a few steps toward her. You sure, you ask? She stares, her eyes barely focusing on much until they settle on the toilet. I think, she begins, her head bobbing about a bit. I either need to throw up or go home and throw up. Help her to the toilet. Okay, babe, you've clearly had a few. Let me just help you to the toilet, you say, reaching your arm out to support the swaying girl. As your hands are about to touch her arms, she takes a holding step forward, then slips. She comes down hard, falling away from you and landing against the bathtub. The thing is full of water, ice plus numerous bottles of beer and wine. Her arm goes fully into it, though she still managed to stop herself from hitting any part of her body too hard. Heck, she says, bringing her arm out of the ice water. Heck, you say. Find a towel for her arm and help her to the toilet. Find a towel for her arm. Sit here a minute, you say, grabbing a towel from a rack and bringing it over. She stares confusedly at her arm. My arm is cold, she says. You towel her arm down. Then her head starts bobbing again. Okay, let's get you over here, you say, helping her to her feet. This time she accepts your help and all but slumps on you as you bring her over to the toilet. You flip the lid up. She hiccups once, then stares into space, her hair hanging all about. Dean is really hot, she says. You've never met a Dean and have no idea who she's talking about. She then hiccups once more, and you can already see what's coming. Hold her hair back. This is a very visceral opening to this game. Like I'm at this house party. Um, where are we at? Babe, I'm just holding your hair out of the way, you say. She then makes an awkward noise. I don't want to, she says, but it's clear her gastric system has other ideas. You gently pull her hair out of the way and hold it behind her head as she finally kneels over and evacuates her stomach. Seemingly, she had nothing to eat tonight beyond perhaps the worm in the bottom of what looks like tequila. You grimace and look away. There, you say, hating that you're somehow mimicking your mother's voice. Bring it all up. She does, and minutes later you find yourself wiping away some of it from her mouth and helping her to her feet again. Oof. I'm loving this very visceral opening. I've always said I like kitchen sink drama. We're getting some. Ask how she's doing. How are you feeling, you ask. Emptying her stomach sure seems to have given her a second wind. She smiles and glances around. I'm good, she says. I want a vodka soda, I think. She then almost slips over again, and is once more half supported by you. Ask if she's here with anyone. She shakes her head. How'd you get here, you ask. Local, she says. It takes you a minute to realize she means the bus. 4? She finishes, looking confused. Okay, was that how you're going to get home, you ask? She shrugs. I don't know. Alright, bad decisions make good drama. Your car is sitting outside. You think about it for a moment. How many drinks have you had? Heck. Far too many for just 2 hours. Too many to be under the limit anyway. Heck it. How do you feel about a taxi, babe? You ask. She sighs. That'd be nice. Okay, come on, you say. Help her out the front. You begin the slow process of helping the girl out of the bathroom and through the house to the front yard. My name's Lacey, you say as you make it past some guys who laugh at the girl's state. Sarah, she says. Pleased to meet you, Sarah. So where's home? You exit the front door, passing a couple who are making out, though they're also drunk enough that there's more tongue action outside each other's mouths than in. This is a good party, but also it's like, poor Lacey. Hey Lace, come comes Mon's voice. Hey, you say. Mon has her bag in her hand and was following a guy towards the street. Ask her where she's going. Where are you heading, you ask, a frown forming. I'm sorry, Mon says. I thought you left. I couldn't find you. She then looks about conspiratorially and adds, He's so cute. You sigh. Who's that? She asks. This is Sarah, you say. Can you help me get her to a cab? Hi, Sarah says. Your friend here is super lovely. Yeah, she is, Mon smiles. Sorry, ladies. I gotta go. Have a great night. Mon heads off. You sigh. Continue helping. Where'd your friend go? Sarah asks. You finally get her to the side of the road. To get laid, you say. You don't seem happy for her, she says. You should be happy for her. Sex is good. You begin to look up and down the street for a cab. It's not the world's busiest street, and you know that there'll be a few at this time of night. I'm happy she's getting laid, you say. I'm not happy she wasn't going to tell me, as I mean, I need to head home on my own later. Oh, Sarah says. A cab with its lights on comes down the street after just a few moments. Flag the cab down. You wave your hands. Hey, cab, you call out. Fortunately, the cabbie notices you waving and pulls over. So where are you going? You ask Sarah as you help her to her feet. Crestview, she says. Bedford Street. You nod and the taxi comes to a stop next to you. Where are you two going? The cabbie asks, idly looking you both up and down. Just her, you say. Bedford Street, Crestview. Any idea how much she'll be? The cabbie exhales dramatically and starts off. Maybe 20, depending on traffic. You grimace as you help Sarah into the back street seat. Oof. Well, because it's a game, we have unlimited money. You reach into your handbag, produce a crumpled 20, and hand it to the cabbie. Just get her there safe, dude. No trouble, he says, then shifts himself around in his seat a little, staring at Sarah. Oh, we all know that little taxi shift. This game is the writing's pretty good. He wags a finger at her. Just don't go puking in my car, girl, he says. He turns his back around as you step back from the car. He turns back around. He turns off the handbrake, then shakes his head, saying, I know what that smell is. The cab pulls away. Heck, you say, exhausted. Return to the party. You kick a can in the gutter as the taxi disappears into the night, then look back at the house. You're pretty sure the music playing is The Prodigy. Even just from the bass that makes it out of the house, a half dozen people, mostly guys, dot the porch in the front yard, mostly smoking and talking pretty loudly. Without Mon there, no, heck it, you came to have a good time. Time to have a good time. You head back across the yard. Hey, comes a female voice in a strangely mid-Atlantic accent. Wait, do they mean like transatlantic from those old films from like the 1930s and 40s? We'll try it. She sits alone, legs crossed, perched majestically on the rail to one side of the front porch. She's wearing a light, scuffed leather jacket, fierce but minimal makeup, or short bleached white hair in a crew cut and black jeans with holes in that. With holes in that. Where I've garbled that. She's wearing a light, scuffed leather jacket, which is cool. Fierce but minimal makeup, love it. Short bleached hair in a crew cut, yes, very nice. And black jeans with holes in them seem to be from wear and tear rather than pre-cut by someone before it got to the school store. Okay, this is very cool for the 90s. She takes a huge drag on a cigarette. Hey, you say. Ask her for a cigarette. Can I steal one of those? They'll kill you, you know, she says, extending an arm out, holding the soft cigarette packet and metal zipper lighter. You take the packet and lighter and begin fishing out a cigarette. You look up at her, but not you. She shakes her head and snorts. No. You jam a cigarette in your... I know this isn't the voice for her, but you said mid-Atlantic, and I've translated that into transatlantic, and I'm running with it. You jam a cigarette in your mouth and mumble, You seem sure of that. The lighter's pretty high quality. Inscribed on the side is Mi Amor. That's right. I can read... I can read French. Who can't read? Mi amore. You light your smoke up and hand the girl's things back to her. Ask her how her night is going. So, you say after taking a drag, how's your night going? I just got here, so almost certainly a lot less interesting than yours. Not sure I'd call tonight interesting so far, you say. I mean, okay, I love the voice, but it's not appropriate for the story, and I want to take the story seriously, and also this uh, person we've just met is clearly giving us like vampire chic coolness, and I needed justice to that. The girl temporarily removes a cigarette from her mouth and takes a drink from the bottle beside her. She then gestures with her head towards the street. What happened to your friend? No, she seems much more interesting. Press her about what she's doing here. Well, you say, taking a drag for dramatic effect. She's not my friend. I just met her tonight, so I held her hair a bit and then sent her home in the cab, and so none of the pricks back indoors should be able to take advantage of her. What's your story? Well, aren't you a good Samaritan? She says and looks around, like she's thinking up an excuse for a crime. My story is I was bored, decided to come out to a party. It's like there is a pretty cool mid 90s film called The Craft, and I think we could take the three or four witches from The Craft, and if we mash them up together, we might get this person. I don't know her name. Do we get her name? I missed it. Who do you know here? You ask. Brad, she says. This his house? You ask. Yeah, she says. What about you? Who do you know here? Now that my friend I came with has gone home with some guy. Oh, that was your friend with Corey? She asks. Uh oh. Mon's dead. Uh oh. Corey's a vampire. That was his name, huh? Well, with her gone, unless you count Sarah. Which one is Sarah? She's the one who nearly puked on me, the girl I put in the cab? Oh, she replies. Well, she continues after a pause, you know me now, too. You make a snarky comment about not even knowing her name. Tell her your name. Okay, well, I haven't seen the word snark since the 90s, so we're going to run with that. Well, I might know you if you tell me your name. I'm Lacey, by the way, you say. Ouch, cold, she says while stubbing out her cigarette. She then hops to her feet, extends her hand towards you, saying, Well, my apologies for being so rude. I'm Paige. You awkwardly shake her hand. So, she says, grabbing her bottle, if we're friends now, you want a drink? You stare down the bottle. The label has been torn off the wine bottle, lying in fragments on the table beside where Paige was just lounging. What is it, you ask? It's a 96, She then furrows her brow while staring down at the remains of the label. Remind her that it is 1996. I knew it! Fatboy Slim was a giveaway. Like, literally, it's so super specific to that year. Like, literally 3 months either side. No Fatboy Slim. um, Tell you aren't picky. It came in a bottle. I mean, that's impressive enough, alright? Oh, did you see the girl I was with before? The one leaving with that guy? Oh wait, we've done that. Hmm? A 1996 white, she says. She then holds the bottle out for you with a grin on her face. A white, you say, huh? She sighs. Oh, don't tell me you only drink French rosé or something. Okay, did you see the girl I was with before? The one leaving with that guy? Corey. Oh, what was his... Oh, was that his name, you say? Paige nods. Okay. Alright, I think the branching... It's introduced Corey to us twice. Evil Corey. Well, we came here together. I rent with her. Yeah, Paige nods. We rent this goddamn shoebox in Venice, one bedroom, which is tiny. I believe that's Venice Beach, which is in Los Angeles, or I think near Los Angeles. So this places the game in California in 1996, which is right around the same vibe as The Craft. So I think we're seeing, like, I'm kind of getting a mental vibe for the mood. I hate to compare a piece of art to other art, but, you know, I need the shorthand sometimes to get into the vibe. You sleep in the same bed? Holy heck. That's so Dickensian, Paige says. You laugh. No, no, the place is technically a one-bedder, but it has this tiny sunroom that was built onto the balcony, barely big enough to keep a single bed. I rent that from her for heck all. Hella heck if I was bringing someone home for a good time. So you spend a lot of time waking up in other people's beds, Paige smiles wryly. Ask if she's flirting with you. Is that flirting? Is it? Is that like some kind of teen boy negging attempt at flirting? Because if so, you're like really bad at it. Paige sighs, a look of genuine discomfort on her face. Sorry, she says. I just don't normally flirt with girls. You ask? She nods. I mean, it's pretty forward of you too. What even made you think? Paige points at your neck. What, you ask? Your tattoo, back of your neck, she says. She's referring to the tattoo you got last year. You and your then girlfriend got matching ones. Two female symbols entwined. Your face flushes red. Oh. Ask her how she saw it. It's under my hair and my hair is down. How'd you even see that, you ask? It wasn't earlier in the evening when you arrived, Paige says. Okay, that part is true, still. You can't tell if it's creepy or hot to have her pay that much attention to you. I mean, if you put a tattoo on your neck, people are going to look. I just think that's, you know, that's the way it is. If I wear a t-shirt with a logo on it, I can't get mad when people look at the logo, I guess. But my eyes are up here, boys. Um, I'm getting a little vibe that we're a little bit like snarky. We're a snarky character. That's very 90s. I don't know. I like to think that the writers like deliberately leaned into that 90s kind of like, what do we call it? Cynicism, the Gen X thing. Pretty cool. It wasn't earlier in the evening when you arrived, Paige says. Oh, well, that part is true, still. Oh, yep. Besides, Paige says and gestures to your hands. What? Your nails are long, except for those three. And oh, you say, glancing down at your right hand. It began as a joke. A few years ago, a girl you hooked up with liked that you kept your thumbnail and two inner fingers so carefully trimmed and suggested you paint them a different color to the others. She did it for you. You kept it going. A quiet in-joke for a relationship that never quite happened. I think in the 90s, one of the things about, well, I mean, for hundreds of years, there was a lot of like, if you were same-sex attracted, you had to do a lot of signaling because you couldn't wear like a rainbow bracelet or anything, even though that's a form of signaling too, I guess. You had to be a bit more subtle. I could definitely see like nail polish on different fingers could definitely work quite well as a signal. Sit in awkward silence, break the ice with something. Well, you seem perceptive, you say. Then your face burns with red hot embarrassment yet again. Well, this is awkward, you say. Can I maybe have another swig of your very fine vintage 96 bottle of Semillon Sauv Blanc Pinot Gris blend? I mean, that sounds quite delightful. You just got to refrigerate it. I think the trick to a cheap white wine is just cool the heck out of it. And then drink it before it warms up. Yeah, she says, smiling a little awkwardly herself and handing you the bottle. You take a big swig and hand the bottle back to her. I'm sorry, that was all super awkward, Paige says. Let's, maybe try all that again, you suggest? Oh, well, I was going to suggest we go indoors and get them to change the music up. Ask her why she wants to change the music. Why, you don't like this? No, she says. Moby's fine. Just not when he's trying to be punk. Holy heck, is this Moby? What? Oh, I wonder what song they're talking about. Moby is also very 90s sound. He gets a lot of flack, I think, um, which I think is unfortunate because it's kind of like same with Fatboy Slim a bit. It's kind of like people who were in the zeitgeist for a little while and then aren't. They look dated, and so everyone points at them and laughs at them. But I mean, isn't it enough that they were in the zeitgeist for a little while? Like, not everyone gets to do that. It's like Alanis Morissette had like people were mocking her for like 20 years, even though that album was really great. And I'm glad to see that there's been a bit of a Alanis Morissette resurgence in the last 2 years, I think. Um, all right, well, I don't need to give you the essay about Moby because apparently we're about to get one. Yeah, his new album is. Look, this song is a terrible hecking cover of this great Mission of Burma track from back when punk wasn't also pop, Paige says, heading towards the door. He turned post punk into pop punk, and he will never be forgiven, she continues, then pauses at the front door as she realizes you aren't following. Come on, she says. You shake your head with a smile and mild amusement, Paige's sudden passion for something other than making you feel awkward. Follow Paige inside the house. The front garden was largely devoid of life, but for stoners sitting in a circle and an awkward looking girl smoking a cigarette and almost certainly tripping. Oh, I garbled that. The front yard was largely devoid of life, but for the stoners sitting in a circle and an awkward looking girl smoking a cigarette and almost certainly tripping, gently running her fingers all over the silk tree flowers by the side fence. Inside is a different story, which is partly why you'd avoided going back inside after helping Sarah to the taxi. Dozens of drunken people about your age, or a bit younger, congregate in groups, the loudest being a court in the lounge room held by two guys in polo shirts who seem to use the word bro more than any other. In the hallway, two brunettes talk about college while drinking electric lemonades, and the house is filled by Moby's attempt at pop punk. Okay, I'm going to listen to this after this. After we finish Quick Games Heck Yeah, I'm going to get straight on to a Moby. I'm going to Google what he's up to these days. There, Paige says, pointing out a large stereo setup, the source of the current. How did we play music back in the 90s? Do we have MP3 players? No, I think we had. I think we were burning CDs back then. So you would get your favorite songs. Oh, wait. 96. I think that's pre downloading music entirely. Like you could download little bits of music, but not much. So it was probably likely you were ripping your CDs to the computer. So like recording the music off the CD onto the computer, and then you'd create a new CD. And when we say burning CDs, we really mean it. You get a blank CD, and then it would actually have to burn in the music like a record player. I have not thought about that for a while. The stereo system is a 6-stack CD player hooked up to two large floor speakers with a huge collection of CDs and racks to either side and above it, and it has Page's complete attention. Okay, or you could just pick a CD off the thousands of CDs that people had. Oof, and often the CD wasn't in the right case. Oh man, I do not miss those days. Right, well, if they're torturing us with this, we need to torture them back. Well, then, you say, joining Page and inspecting the CD collection. After a moment, you see a few options. Yeah, the Craft soundtrack. The Romeo and Juliet soundtrack. Romeo plus Juliet soundtrack. When did OK Computer come out? I don't like this turn into nostalgia. I actually don't really miss the 90s. I'm kind of, like I lived through it and I had a lot of great times and everything, but I don't have a particular fondness for it, I think. Uh, Once again, like, what's wrong with Neil Diamond? Holy heck, she exclaims, grabbing and turning over. The Christmas album volume 2? You just know this is going to be a stinker. My aunt was 100% obsessed with this guy. He's peak mum music, you say. Done deal, Paige says and flips the case open. This is definitely Brad's mum's. Want to do the honours? Paige asks, holding out the CD. Take the CD. We're partners in crime. As you wish, ma'am. Ma'am? My mom. I don't know how you say that. You say, grabbing the case and flipping it open. You habitually check the back of the CD. You habitually check the back of the disc. Although the lights are so dim in the room, you couldn't tell if it had any scratches anyway. I will say something that's cool about CDs is that weird, like, hologram mother of pearl effect when you like tilt it in the light. That's always very futuristic, I think. You reach over to the CD player and pause, suddenly unsure just what to do. Ah, so you say. Oh, Paige says, pushing a few buttons. You never used a CD changer before? Your rich friends had CD changers. I think most people just had a CD player where you press the button and the disc comes out and you put the disc in and blah, and so you have to switch it. But some people had like, you put in like, it's like a rotating tray and you put a CD in and it would rotate, and you put another CD in and it would rotate, and put another CD in and it would rotate, and you get like 6 in there. And then you could just press like a button for like slot 6 or whatever, and the whole thing would just chunk and go and then start playing. They were like, your rich friends had them, but they never worked. I don't know if you ever experienced that. Like you'd be in a friend's car and the car would have like a CD changer and you'd be like, that is so cool. But it would like jump around and skip around and not play the music. And is it better to have 6 CDs than just changing it anytime you want anyway? Terrible. My CD player uses a single disc, and if you breathe too heavily near it, the thing skips. They did skip a lot. She laughs and takes the disc from you, inserting it into a confusing tray that separates 3 separate discs. My friend had a Discman, which was like a portable CD player. But it's like, these things spin at like 100 times a minute, right? And they're quite big. And I was always like, that's not going to work. Like, just how can it be spinning and you like jogging? It's just going to be like, yeah. Now I think about it, the 90s was quite odd. She laughs and takes the disc from you, inserting into the confusing tray that contains three separate discs. Then she pushes a few more buttons. They'll play next, she says, turning facial with a smile. Let's get out of here before the awfulness begins, you say. Let's head out back, you say. Good plan, Paige says, and heads over towards the back of the house. Head out back. Heck, this place has a pool, you ask, staring at the fancy lit in-ground pool complete with a palm tree over a small spa in the corner. That's pretty awesome. Alright, but unfortunately, we are going to have to end it there. Um, because Quick Games Tech, yeah, we only really have a half hour because of my attention span, really. But also, today I do have to move on to a meeting. So I really only had the half hour today. Um, that was that was so entertaining. Like, I'm not really one for nostalgia, but this one really evoked 1990s parties for me as well. Like, I literally could smell the lounge room as we were reading through it, and I could picture those people in the backyard in their little circle drinking and smoking. Good times, people. And the CD player thing obviously has me cackling with delight a bit. Those things were terrible. Do not miss CDs at all. Um, yeah, I thought what is really elevates this game above a lot of games I've played is I really feel the two main characters, if these are the two main characters, they're really getting like a bit of a, I don't know, they're being fleshed out a lot. Like, they feel very real people. I know Paige is a little bit the mysterious, goth chick kind of thing. But the fact that we're not straight into, I guess, the vampire premise of the game, which I guess is coming up, this is really reading like an actual fleshed out story. And I think we've only just scratched it. So I do recommend, if you're really interested in it, to play it. The website's down below. The game's free to play. What's there to say? I kind of wish we'd gotten a bit to the meat of it a bit more. Like, this is absolutely one of those games where the half hour thing has really, I think, sunk us a bit. I wish we'd been like, normally I would actually play it a bit longer, but unfortunately I do have to get going. Maybe we'll come back for part two with this because it's so well written, and I'm just loving that it's more atmosphere and mood necessarily than plot. Like, a lot of games, I think, are very plot heavy because I think that's maybe the interactive nature of games, right? There's almost like the form of games is that you have to take action, and I think that implies a certain forward motion, and then that kind of implies plot. Whereas with this game and a lot of great games, they kind of break free of of that kind of oppressive nature of games, and just kind of go, well, we're going to do a bit of world building, or we're going to do a bit of character building, or we're actually just going to do an atmosphere or a mood. And I think, in a way, you have to fight the format of games to achieve that. And so when you're fighting the format, that can obviously that can be quite awkward, and you get quite awkward results out of that. But I think in this case, it's actually working really successfully. So, yep. Thank you for joining me here on Queer Games Heck Yeah, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.